go. Okay. Uh, whenever everybody's ready, we can call the meeting to order. You all good?
I'm going to
So
share.
6:03.
We are live.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okey-doke.
Okay, so I guess, Sarah, you want to call the meeting to order?
Yeah, let's call the meeting to order. It's 6:03. And looks like the first item on the agenda is the minutes, but I feel like I have not had a chance to look at them very closely, and so maybe we can put that at the end of the meeting. Is that okay with you, Colin? Do you want a motion to move the minutes to the end of the meeting?
That's fine. I make that motion.
Cool.
And
I
support
second.
it.
All in favor?
Yay, me.
Okay. Okay, so we can move right into the capital project update.
Okay, so why don't I actually, now that I've got the agenda up, why don't I stop sharing for a moment, and then I will put up the capital project update and ask Jim Giuliano, who is on the meeting call tonight, to walk us through that, if you could, Jim. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim. This, of course, is the update on the major school construction projects.
Sure. You can probably scroll through that overall schedule and we'll get into the specific projects. For instance, PONUS. We are essentially complete with PONUS. I'm happy to report we've moved Jefferson over to the lower school addition. We've moved the middle school out of the lower school addition back into the middle school. Teachers and administrators are over there unpacking and organizing their spaces. We've delivered, I'd say, about 95% of the furniture. There are some items that will not be arriving until mid-September. We've identified those items. We're going to send out a list either tomorrow or Friday to the school administrators to make sure that they're aware of what furniture is still yet to come. So in case they're asking for items or looking for additional items, they can check that list and see if there are some additional items coming. Now, we will have punch list items to complete. And we're planning on doing that starting on a second shift after the children are out of the school. I think we talked about 5 o'clock. We've coordinated it with Damon and Nick yesterday at our weekly meeting. But that will be minimal and shouldn't disturb anybody. And again, we're not going to be doing it during the school day. But all in all, the project is complete. We're happy with the results and look forward to fully utilizing the completed project now.
So I don't know whether under a normal environment there would be some kind of ribbon cutting or celebration scheduled when you reach this sort of milestone. I know we actually had something when I remember there was the topping off ceremony on the lower building, but I don't know whether or not in a COVID environment, whether we can do anything, but it would certainly seem appropriate to try to plan to do something to just acknowledge and celebrate the fact that the project is reached this point. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. I'm not sure, again, with the environment that we're in, I'm not sure what, if anything, we can do. But Tom, you're right. That is typical of, the completion of a project. You have a ribbon cutting and ceremony. And unfortunately, with the way things are, I'm not sure that that's, going to happen. But I'll leave that up to Board of Ed, city, whoever makes those decisions.
Why don't we talk to the SGC about it and see if there's something that we could do that would be outdoor social distancing appropriate minimal people, like maybe just the principals, or I don't know, some kind of very small outdoor distant ribbon cutting. Seems like it could be a possibility.
Yeah, I think similar to the announcement we had when we announced the new funding agreement with what's their names?
The Dalios?
The Dalios, yes.
So yeah, why don't we put that on our list of things to talk about and come back with some appropriate way to mark the occasion. So
Okay. If you want to scroll down, Tom, schedule, we're going to be going through the closeout phase now. Not very exciting, more back office items and dealing with the state and closing out our final reimbursements, change orders, things of that nature. If you can scroll down further, Tom. The new Columbus School, actually, this is something that I think we need to have, the city and the Board of Ed need to have discussions on as to how they want to move forward. I know that back in, I think, May, June, there was a brief mention of doing a larger school on a new site. And again, that's something that's going to have to be discussed with between city and Board of Ed. At this point, not much is going on with that. I think until we have those discussions as to how it's going to move forward. So.
okay.
For sure. So we have had the capacity study meet twice in the interim between those two meetings, with the goal of assessing if it would be feasible or necessary to think about an alternative site.
Correct.
So that's moving forward that way.
Yes. Okay, Tom, if you'd like to scroll down.
Okay, it looks like there's a question. I saw that I think Sherelle is on the
Oh.
call, and I saw that she raised her hand. So I don't know if
Oh,
she can
great.
speak.
Thanks, Tom. Can you hear me at all?
Yes.
Oh, you're the
wonderful.
Galaxy S10. Okay.
I
Cheryl.
am. Maybe we can put I don't know if anybody's there that can just change it to my name. I think, Sarah, you may have sort of answered my question. I was going to ask if we have like the address or the parcel of the alternative sites that they're considering.
So before any steps are taken to move forward with the alternative site, the city wanted to work with us to make sure that they had what felt like a really accurate assessment of capacity that existed. So no is the answer. But I don't know, Alan, Alan is on this call, right?
No, he's not.
Oh, he's not? Okay. Yeah, I think the next meeting of the capacity study there will be hopefully an agreement between the city and the school district, as to what capacity is necessary, so that then that decision can be made.
Okay, so they're waiting for us to let them know the capacity before they go out to look for a parcel?
No, they're waiting for the capacity study to conclude with an agreement between the city and the board and MPS as to what capacity exists and is necessary at the elementary level before they move forward with the parcel idea.
Okay,
Did
so
that make
I'm a
sense?
little confused. No, and it
Okay.
probably I could be misunderstanding. So I guess right now there is no parcel that's being considered. There's no one particular parcel that's being considered, or two.
So I think they have been, I mean, I know that they have been looking and identifying things that they think are suitable, but they don't want to make any movement on it without having.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess after all the ducks are in a row, then we can announce or we can say what the parcel or what the land is.
Yeah, I think after the ducks are in a row, the decision will be made as to if that's the direction that everybody wants to go in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
No worries.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So
you want me to continue on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I guess you can go by the New Columbus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay,
Okay, Norwalk High School, there was, as some of you are aware, we were doing some minor aesthetic improvements, bathroom renovations and some other aesthetic improvements. One of which, or not an aesthetic improvement, but one of the items that was remaining from the initial work that was approved was the replacement of the scoreboard. Now, the scoreboard did get replaced. A brand new one was was erected. However, the paint was peeling, and we brought that up to the installer, and as such, they decided to replace the whole scoreboard, and that did get replaced about 2 weeks ago. So that work is complete. As far as the new high school, there is legislation out there in the school construction bill for an 80% reimbursed high school at a $225 million budget. I'm not sure when the state legislature is convening to vote on the school construction bill. I have heard I've heard two things. One, it's the beginning of September, and the other one, it's the middle of September. So only time will tell as to when that school construction bill will get approved. However, once it is approved, we have to move quickly in finalizing the grant application. We do have quite a bit completed already. For instance, the Board of Ed approved the ed specs, educational specifications, in February. The city appropriated the funding. However, the city held off on approving what they call the resolutions. So once, excuse me, once we do know that the legislature has approved the school construction bill, of which the new Norwalk High School is a part of, then we can move forward with the approvals from the final approvals from the city, as well as putting and compiling the rest of the information, which actually I have reached out to Nina on. Nina Laria, and we're working together on compiling that information, and we'll be ready to go once that gets approved, but it will still take some time.
Question, Jim, refresh my memory, do we have the cost estimate that would be required on this, or is that still one of the things that would have to be done?
No, we do have a cost estimate. However, it does have to be what they call uploaded to the DAS website. And I am actually, a couple of days ago, I did reach out to the estimator, and we're working on getting that situated and starting to work on working on uploading it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, Tom, if you want to continue scrolling down. I will stop you here on the schedule. It looks like we probably are on schedule based on what I anticipated in terms of approvals. As you can see, the construction process is quite long, and the reason for that is the site is not that big. So should we move forward, we're going to have to build it in phases, where we build a new section, tear down an existing portion of the high school, build, tear down, build, and tear down. So that does extend the schedule somewhat. So Tom, if you could scroll down a little bit further. Norwalk Global Academy, the existing Columbus, obviously is contingent on how and when we move forward with the new Columbus school.
Keep going, or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can continue going. Jefferson, we're in design. Actually, we met with the state in early July and had the design development review meeting, which went very well. The architect is now into the construction document phase. We are continuing with our city approvals. We're on schedule with our design. We will be ready to go out to bid in probably early January, February. And we're anticipating to go out to bid still, and with the caveat for the contractors that the construction will not start until June. Obviously, if something changes before that, we'll notify or include that information in our bids. Okay, Tom.
Quick question, Jim, your schedule here now for Jefferson, does it assume that the district is utilizing the Jefferson as for the Jefferson Annex space?
No, it does not. So Tom, that will have to be updated. So we would move the construction start out to June or the end of the school year, which we're anticipating probably mid-June or late June. But everything before that, so from February, mid-February to let's say the end of June would just be a waiting period, and then construction would start. We still feel, if that was the case, that we can complete the project within that time frame. That'll give us roughly 13 months, 13 to 14 months. So we're confident that we can complete the renovation within that time period and open for, I think it would be the 2020, it would be August of 2022 that we would open.
Okay, so that's actually good news that even if we need to use that space for the entire school year, you don't think it's going to push off construction completion so that we'd have to, either move, mid-school year or delay moving in for a whole, however, long that would be. You think you can still be done in essentially in a year's time or just over a year's time?
That's correct. As long as we don't find any unforeseen issues, we should be able to get that done within that time frame. And that was our original schedule. Obviously the start date just moved. So, we again, we're going to be doing some, and I think we've had the discussions with Board of Ed. We will still need access from time to time to do what they call destructive investigations, and that is, poking a hole in a wall and taking a look at the structure, just so that way we can have it designed and not get hit with change orders from contractors and not be ready for anything that we find when we open up a wall. So there will be some of that continuing throughout the fall. Obviously, we're going to notify the school and notify everybody to make sure that they're aware that we need to come in and what that time frame is. We're not just going to show up and start poking a hole in a wall. If you can scroll down.
So, sorry, Jim, quick question. Could those hole pokings be scheduled for if there's a break, like over winter break or spring break?
Well, since the construction documents are moving forward, Colin, we're probably going to have to do that over the fall.
Oh, okay.
Because we will need to find that information out before the construction documents are, and those are scheduled to be complete by mid-November.
But it potentially could be scheduled. We've got, a few holidays in there.
That's right.
Couple Jewish holidays that you may have people that would be working possibly, or if it was going to be something that was disruptive to the learning environment, you could also schedule it after hours, I presume.
That's correct. And I think we're going to try and do that for the most part. We don't want to be in there when the children are in there, obviously for COVID reasons and also disturbing the students. So yeah, and Sorry, Colin, I didn't mean to assume that we were going to be there doing that type of work during the school day. We will work and schedule with the occupants of the building to make sure that we don't disturb them.
Yes, thank you. And I figured you would take care to do that. I think as you probably are already thinking, we'll need to be very, very careful about how we communicate, not just to the school leadership, but to our parents and families, so that everybody feels safe about it.
Correct. Okay. Cranberry Elementary School. As some of you are aware, we submitted a grant application in June. We issued a request for qualifications for architectural services. We received 16 responses, and we shortlisted down to the group that you see there: Antonazi, SLAM, Spiegel's, and TSKP. We had interviews last week, Wednesday for Cranberry, and then we had on Friday for Naramick, and I'll get to that in the next slide. But after the interviews that we conducted, we shortlisted further to Antonazi, SLAM, and TSKP for proposals. We did receive the proposals at 2 o'clock this afternoon. That's why you have some blanks there. And Antonazi was the low fee provider for the Cranberry Elementary School. So obviously we're going to be next Wednesday at the land use meeting. We will be presenting Antonazi and their fee for approval by the land use committee, with common council approval the following Tuesday. And also we did issue the construction manager's request for qualifications. Those responses are due back on the 31st, of which we will again go through the qualification review process, shortlist down to 4, ask those 4 to give an interview, and then invite 2 or more to provide proposals. Any questions on Cranberry? Okay, Tom, if you'd like to scroll down. We are on schedule with Cranberry at this time. So we're excited about that. We are at the end of August and in our procurement phase, and we were successful with that. Okay, you can scroll down more. Thank you. Naramick Elementary School kitchen cafeteria expansion. Again, we submitted the grant application to the state this past June 30th. Again, we went out for requests for qualifications for architectural firms. On this project, we received 13 responses. We did our initial shortlist for interviews and narrowed that down to Antonazi Associates, Newman, Fryer, and Tecton. We conducted those interviews last Friday morning, and from there, the committee narrowed down to 3 that we would request proposals for, and those were Antonazi Associates, Newman, and Tecton. We received the proposals this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Antonazi, again, was the low fee provider, and therefore we will be presenting Antonazi for the architectural services for Naramick's kitchen and cafeteria renovation project to the land use committee, and following the next Tuesday for the full common council. Now, we did not, on this project, because it was a smaller project, we debated whether or not we were going to do a general contracting delivery method or construction management delivery method. We were leaning towards the general contracting delivery method. However, during the interview process with the architects, in which we told them that we were debating the two different delivery methods, a couple of issues were brought to our attention that really made it more appealing to do the construction management delivery method, and that is the phasing of this project. Although it's small, we do have some phasing that we're going to have to do, and we need the flexibility of a construction manager working with us on that project to help us with that process. Whereas the general contracting, it would have been a little bit more difficult, and if we missed those dates, we would have been negotiating with the general contractor as to any additional costs that they may have incurred. And with the CM delivery process, we have that upfront, and it's purchased with the trade contractors. Any questions on Naramic?
So the next step on Naramac, and for that matter, I guess Cranberry, you've got to go up to the state at some point. Is that happen fairly quickly, or is there a fairly extensive design process that occurs before you review things with the state?
That's a good question. There are multiple meetings with the state. The first meeting, once we get our team together, the architect, the construction manager, we will go up to the state and have what they call a prep meeting. So that way the state will review any new requirements in the design process or delivery process. We introduce ourselves as the team to the state and to let them know, you're going to be seeing us for our design review meetings. And then after that, Tom, we start the design process, and about 2 to 3 months after the prep meeting, we will be visiting the state again to review the schematic design meeting, or have the schematic design meeting. And then about 3 to 4 months after that, we will go back up to the state for the design development review. And then about 3 to 4 months after that, we go back up for what they call the prep meeting. And that's the meeting that they do a thorough review of the drawings and the documents, and approve the project to go out to bid.
Okay, thanks. I think that's helpful for everyone just to understand the process and the steps.
No problem. Okay, I think that was the last project.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate you being able to scroll for me. If there's any other questions?
I just have one quick question, maybe for Sarah, but anybody else who can answer it. Just going back to the next steps on Columbus, the new Columbus. I was curious as to what extent the school leadership and the particularly the principal is involved with the ongoing talks with the city.
So not really.
Okay.
If I was actually just looking through the minutes from the last meeting so that I could make sure that we had to approve them, like multitasking and listening at the same time. And there's actually a reasonably good discussion in those minutes of the decision to have the capacity study and why. And I think that that I know that the administration at Columbus and also the governance council are frustrated with the delay in the project. But I think getting that joint facilities capacity study completed is just like the biggest thing that we can do to have any kind of forward motion. So I don't think there's been anything to update them on, given that that is something that the city feels very strongly about completing, and that we agree is it's a valuable thing to do before we move forward. So I don't know if that answers the question in a helpful way or not. I think the governance council and the administration at CMS were involved in all of the parts of the project leading up to it halting. And as soon as something is able to move, then they'll be involved again, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
For sure.
I think I saw you had Sherelle raise
Yeah.
her hand as well.
So I guess to Colin's point, I'm just wondering how far back this is going to push progress. I know that there was a timeline pending approval, I guess, in June before the whole, new parcel piece came into play. So I'm just wondering now with this new structure, how far is that going to push us back?
So as far as I know, and anybody can correct me if this is not accurate, in order to get approval by the state to move forward with the project, you have to submit whatever your plans are by June, and we obviously have not been able to do that for this year. I don't think there was any COVID-related extensions, but also the joint facilities capacity study isn't finished anyway. So even if there were an extension, we still wouldn't be able to meet it because it's not done yet. I wish Alan was here because he could speak to that. Alex, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about, Alex was at the last, Dr. Estrella was at the last joint capacity study meeting.
So we started the conversation. One of the things that we brought as a concern is that the capacity study is only focusing on elementary school. But when you look at CMS, I want to try to refrain from using the full name. But when you look at CMS, it's actually a K-8 school. So consideration has to be provided for the middle school current enrollment or capacity. And one of the things that we had suggested was the possibility of extending the study to also include the middle school grades as well. The other thing that we put into perspective is the challenge of only having a segment of the district looked at when we're conducting a capacity study, because when you look at capacity, you have to look at it as a district as a whole and the impact of different components and how that will have a ripple effect on other grades. So one of the things that we recommended was the possibility of either having the study encompass K-8. Ideally, we would love it to be K-12 so that we have a clear understanding of the capacity impact that the enrollment growth has had over time, especially because in 9th grade, we noticed that ninth grade is one of the places where we spike in numbers in terms of new enrolled students in the district.
Okay, so I guess we're now looking to next June, possibly.
So we're now looking to next June. The city felt very strongly that if they were going to make the choice to identify another parcel and have any additional funds put towards, acquiring anything, that they wanted to make sure that we were very clearly communicating with each other about numbers of kids. So they, they said, let's do this study, and we said, okay.
The other piece, Sarah, that I would like to add to provide Cheryl an additional perspective is that when these capacity studies are done, they're looking at it as a district as a whole. And one of the things we have to keep in mind is that population density is different in different components of the city. And you might have some buildings that might have low capacity, or enrollment is low in those areas, but yet the density in different areas is high. When you look at the overall number, it might appear as if we have space, but if we're taking into consideration the fact that we want to create seats in neighborhoods that haven't had seats in the past, we can't necessarily look at the overall scope of the district. We have to look at the different, like, for lack of a better word, zones or areas, and how density is going to impact enrollment in those particular locations. So,
No,
so
that makes perfect sense. It makes a lot of sense, and I get it. We have to look at the big picture. So that makes perfect sense. I guess my concern is the growth in South Norwalk. Also, which has been a big pet peeve of mine for a long time, is the what they call the District 99s. So so that's why, and I get it. You know, we couldn't. So I'm assuming Ely is just totally off of the map now.
I don't think that's necessarily the case. I
Okay,
just
so we're just looking. We're still
we're
just
looking.
looking.
But Cheryl, I just
Okay.
wanted to say, like, the reason why I think looking at particular areas and not looking at the district as a whole is important is exactly for what you said. I think.
No, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Okay,
I
I
get
just
it.
wanted to make sure that, like, you
No,
understand.
I get it. I'm just
for
looking
that.
at like we are growing, like we are super growing. So,
Yeah.
okay. All right. I think I sort of have a framework of what's being said and done. But thank you.
It's a shame that Alan wasn't able to be here because he's been sort of the point person communicating between the city side and the
And
board
the
side.
schools.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would be so happy if anything about this project could move forward, you know, and it just timelines and state things and all of those things are out of our
Right,
hands.
right.
And then, you know, the other piece. So
Gotcha.
that's where we're at.
Okie dokes.
Okay. Are we on item 4 now?
I think
The
we're on
facilities
item
department?
4, and I
Yeah,
saw
forget
Bill
about it.
Hodell earlier. Hopefully he's still on the call, because I was gonna throw this one to Bill and ask Bill to update the facilities committee on the various steps that we have taken and you are taking and continue to take to get the buildings ready for reopening.
He's with us.
Before Bill starts, I think, am I needed for this discussion? I think I should be all set.
Can you hear me, Tom?
I think for Jim Giuliano, I think we're all set unless Sarah thinks we need him to stay on the meeting.
Nope.
Okay,
We're all good.
thank you, everyone. Have a
Tom,
good
can you
evening.
hear me?
Right.
Yes,
Yep, we
we
can
can hear you, Bill.
Great. Well, thank you. So, update on where we're at the schools. This time of year, we're pretty much in the same position we are in every year at this time. What does that mean? We're taking, we have already taken classroom furniture out into the halls, and we've cleaned all the rooms. And in fact, this year we used a different product on the floor. We call it floor finish, commonly known as wax. We actually upgraded the type and actually saved money at the same time. So it really gives you a supermarket shine. And that is all completed in every classroom in the district. So now we're at the point where we are populating the classrooms, only this time with less furniture because it's in a COVID layout. As a result, we brought in storage containers. The excess furniture that will not be stored in the classrooms will either go to some unused areas in the school or in the storage containers that we put in every back area of the schools, either in the parking lot or in a grassy area or whatnot. So there's certain items that we're not putting back in each classroom because, you know, they invite germs and whatnot, and it gives access so we can fit as many student desks as possible in a COVID setting in each. So we're well under the way we're doing so. There's still a lot of furniture in the hallways, but by and large, each day we're getting better and more classrooms are outfitted with this furniture. Some of the larger areas such as gymnasiums, cafeterias, in some cases libraries, which will be used as a learning environment. We ordered room dividers. They have come in all at the schools and they're all being laid out in addition to the desks that are going in there for a classroom setup. Wellness screens, commonly known as plexiglass, those are on order. They're expected on Friday, at which time they'll be distributed to each school and located where needed. Floor signage, wall signage, bathroom signage, COVID signage. Some of it has already been installed because we had summer school. So we're outfitting the remainder portions of the schools with additional signage. It's a common sign. It's a CDC approved sign, and we're using it as a district standard in all schools. Some schools are supplementing that with perhaps arrows on the floors and getting a little more creative, but the standard signs pretty much send the message. Each classroom in the district has a hand sanitizer dispenser. They're all up. The product is going in and will be completed by the first day of school. I'm in a classroom right now and I can see one at the front door. Water fountains have been closed off, but the water cooler, the water bottle filler portion of them are on. So each school will have one located so students can still use the water fountains per se, but only use the bottle filler feature. Each classroom is going to have a bottle of a sanitizer. We researched the product that is okay to have around food. It's basically an alcohol and water mixture, and it's properly labeled. We are filling bottles now, and each classroom will have one within a week's time, and free to use from the teachers and in some cases the older students. They can, as I said, spray it around food. It evaporates, or you can wipe it off. Each classroom has a HEPA filter. It's a UV HEPA filter. In fact, I'm in a classroom now, and you might see it over my left shoulder. So these are a round cylinder style, looks like a coffee pot, if you will, but they fit up to 1,000 square feet. They are a lifetime UV and HEPA filter. There's virtually no maintenance other than a cover sleeve that gets removed from time to time and washed and then replaced. So as I said, we are well on the way. We will be fully ready for the school's opening, and with the teachers coming back starting tomorrow, I'm sure things will get shuffled around a little more, and we're going to be looking good.
I have a couple of questions, if that's okay. What about toilet seats for, because I know in the elementary schools, a lot of the toilets in the restrooms don't have covers. They don't have like closing tops. Was that something that was addressed?
Sarah, we actually reconnected with Dr. Weinberger and Deanna. And after their further review of this question, they determined that having the toilet lids provided in, an equal number of concerns as is having them on, because we get into situations where students are touching the lids, dropping the lids, picking up the lids, and so we actually put a stop on the installation of toilet lids after that decision was reached with the health director and the medical advisor. And we are in the process of removing the toilet lids that had gone on during summer school.
Okay, I wonder.
And just to further add, we were looking at like this, like having every other stall, because I know the concern was around the aerosols circulating, but there's greater risk in having the children touching the lids and cross-contaminating in that fashion than just keeping the lids open and having every other stall utilized instead to control the aerosol distribution in the room.
Okay. What about ventilation in the restrooms also?
Oh, so each restroom has a toilet exhaust fan. In some of the real old areas, it's more of a residential style that was installed after the fact. So all of these fans are either working, or I still have a maintenance crew going around to make sure that they are working. But by and large, the TX, the toilet exhaust fans, are on their agenda and working.
Okay. and there's like a protocol for their being running during the day or something like that?
Absolutely. They are tied to a BMS, and we can run them and change that program at any time.
Okay. That's great. Let's see. Storage pods, furniture, plexiglass. Oh, so I don't know if this is under your purview, Bill, or not actually, but I thought it was sort of a facilities issue, but not an indoor one. When I had talked to a couple of administrators, they had floated the idea, and I know, Alex, that you had talked about this too, of tents for any kind of outdoor, like protection from the sun or protection from a light drizzle kind of thing, big open, you know, banquet style almost tents. And I wonder if any, given that we got a little bit of extra funding from the state, which is excellent, if there was any way to work towards making, you know, sheltered outdoor spaces.
So, like, just to clarify, although we got the second highest, we're still short in terms of funding from the state.
I know.
But in terms of the tent piece, there's some places that have coverings installed to the wall of their building. And Bill, you can speak to some of the challenges we encountered in terms of potentially getting tents installed in some of the schools.
Tents, the ones that you do see are there for food service distribution. But what Dr. Estrella is describing is some of the schools have overhangs. Nathan Hale, Fox Run has a big awning. So even though you're not in a tent, you are outside, so you can get some shelter and perhaps have a mask break. But you don't need a tent to do so. But
what I think Sarah's referring to, we looked into the tent, Sarah, and the challenge was safety, depending on wind speeds, the risk of having the tents disattached from the ground and potentially hurting one of the children. So we were concerned about installing these and having a climatological event that could potentially injure someone.
Right. In addition to that, they would have to be winterized. If you're going to send them out there in December or January with no heat, it defeats the purpose. For
sure. I'm just thinking, because it's, you know, outdoor activities are significantly safer, that it would be great if there was some way that we could really encourage, you know, outdoor everything.
A lot of the schools, just so that you know, are organizing their external spaces to provide even lessons outside, depending on the perimeter of the school and how secure the space is. But we can definitely follow up to get some more information in terms of the cost of the tents and where we could potentially safely place them, if that's something you want us to continue to explore. We were just concerned about the safety factor.
Yeah, no, I that makes sense. I gotcha.
We've been having so many storms.
Yeah, no, I know, and we're gonna have more, so it's a valid point. Colin and Sherelle, did you guys have any questions?
No, I think you it's very well covered. It sounds like we have a very strong sense that we'll be ready for September 8th.
Absolutely, on facilities end.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
Sherelle, did you have any other questions about anything?
I think I'm okay for now.
Okay. Are there any public comments? Is there anybody here? I can't see the, you know, grid of people anymore because we're on the screen share.
I think normally public comments, we, I believe, have them emailed, and I did not get any indication from Mara that she had any emailed comments. I'm just checking to make sure that's up to date here, but yeah, no, I don't see any emails from Mara passing along any
comments?
public comments. No.
Sarah,
Okay,
I
great.
do have a quick question for Dr. Estrella. And forgive me if this was answered, before I logged in. So I know there were several concerns about the opening of Jefferson. Are we okay with that?
So I know there were concerns. We released the OSHA report to provide people with context. Bill Hodel has been in the building, and you can speak. You actually spoke at the task force a little bit about it, but Bill, can you provide an update to Sherelle in terms of the points you discussed earlier? Also, before Bill goes into it, we are ordering an air quality test.
Okay.
We're conducting one prior to the start of the school, just to make sure that people can see that the things that we're articulating are in alignment with the study. And then we're hoping to do a follow-up when we have students in the room, in the building as well. But Bill, can you speak to the other pieces?
Sure. I just want to start out by saying a number of years ago, in the 8 portables, there was an extreme weekend-long storm that occurred, and the windows in those 8 portables were left open. As a result of this long weekend, it got saturated with rainwater. As a result, it developed mold. This is many years ago. This is not in the school. This is in the 8 portables. The portables were closed down for a period of time, and that was remediated. Ever since that, there's been this persona that Jefferson has a lot of mold. Remediated, it was specific to the 8 portables. Now, the 8 portables have remained there and still remain there today. And since that time, and that was in 2013, since that time, there have been minor leaks, maybe through a cracked seam in the roof, that has been addressed and properly taken care of. There are no issues that we know of pertaining to mold or indoor air quality Jefferson proper. That includes premise with the 8 or 10 portables as well. Now, even though we are using Jefferson this summer and this school year, as Dr. Estrella said, we are arranging the furniture, as I said earlier. Then right after that, we're going to have a mold test done. We're going to have a VOC test done, volatile organic compounds. Those results will come back to us. Actually, they'll be sent out to an independent lab. They will be analyzed and come back to us, and we are going to share them with the public. We do not envision there are going to be any issues. It was just shy of 2 years ago where we called OSHA to come to the building. They did not come based on a phone call from the public. We entered into the voluntary compliance program. We brought them in, and they spent about a week or two analyzing the entire school and took readings, and none of those readings were higher than, or none of them were elevated levels. They did note some recommendations, maybe 6 or 7 of them. All those recommendations were taken care of. For example, replace the carpet in, the VCT in the bathroom in the portable with seamless flooring, because in the boys' room they were, not necessarily aiming for the toilet. And there was a another, for instance, was a lot of the air conditioning and heating grills were covered with furniture. They had asked us to clear those areas. In addition to that, they came up with some safety issues, and they were mandated to be addressed by a predetermined date, and they also were identified and complied with. So since that time, we've had no incidents, almost 2 years, and the portables are still running, and they are fully air conditioned as well as the entire school. So we don't feel there's going to be an air quality issue, even though we're getting a test and the test will be back before the school year starts. We are safe in that building and runs well, being that
Thank you, Bill. And also remember that we had kids there before COVID. So the building was being utilized prior to students transitioning to remote learning. So the building is habitable. I know that people are concerned, but we wouldn't place anyone in the building of concern without making sure that everything is in place.
Yeah. That's my thought too. And then you also have the HEPA filters in the building as well.
They're already been distributed. I think I mentioned earlier, I was at a school and I tested them out because I wanted to see if they were, how loud they were. And actually the noise level is pretty low, so.
Oh, good.
Awesome.
That's
Thank you
great.
so much for that.
You're very welcome.
Okay, cool. So, Tom, there's no public comments as far as you know, and there's nobody on the Zoom call that we don't know who it is. I can't see the grid.
Roland, do you see anyone else? I do not.
No, sir, I do not.
Okay.
Just the current participants.
Thank you. So now we can do the minutes from the last meeting, and I looked through them, and the only thing that I noticed was just one small typo, but it's a typo that changes the meaning of the sentence. So it's service instead of surface somewhere, and I marked it in the paragraph, but then I lost it. Hang on one second. I'm just scrolling up. I apologize. So in paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4 on page 3, the sentence, it's 4 sentences from the end of the paragraph. Mr. Lowe said that the public can turn, no, I'm sorry. He said that the rubberized service, SERV, was porous, and it's supposed to be surface. And that's the only correction that I had in the minutes. And the only reason that I even bring it up is because it changes the meaning of obviously surface. Anyway, so other than that, the minutes are fine. Colin, did you have a chance to look them over?
I did, and I didn't even catch that typo, so thank you. Everything else looks fine to me.
Okay, great. And Sherelle was not at that meeting, so she does not have to vote on those minutes. But if you want to look through them, Sherelle, there's a discussion of the Facilities Capacity Commission rationale of origin. So, Colin, can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from June 24th.
Excellent. I second that motion. And all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
One.
Thanks, Cheryl. Okay, great. So that passes with 2 ayes and 1 abstain. And then if there's nothing else, then we can have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
So you guys tied, moving and seconding. That's awesome. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So we can adjourn at 7:01. And
Can
thank
I
you all
just say
so
a
much.
quick congratulations to Colin?
Oh, sure. Oh my gosh. Yes, I saw that on Instagram today. Congratulations to you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I have 2 new picture books out based on the one and only Ivan. So get it wherever
They
books
look
are
so
sold.
fantastic.
So it's
I will.
actually 2 congratulations. So
Great
it's
job.
that and then being, I think, a super delegate.
I was a delegate at the DNC last week. That's right. Thank you. I appreciate
So-
that.
Doing all kinds of stuff.
Congratulations.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Thank you.
Congratulations. And I'm going to buy your books and read them to my
Somebody's
children.
clapping. I see somebody has clapping hands.
Alex is
Find
clapping.
your
Yeah.
books for my niece.
Oh,
There you
okay.
go. Yes, and
Happy to
Tom
sign
and
them
Bill
too.
and Frank, thank you guys so much. And Alex, thank you for all of your hard work that you're constantly doing. I know it's exhausting and you're all
He's
doing an
very
amazing
busy.
job.
Thank you.
Yes, hats off to the entire team. Thank you.
Take care.
All right. Good night,
Okay.
everyone.
Good
Bye-bye.
night, friends.
Night. Thank you.